Would you please stand for the reading of the Gospel this morning? Our sermon text today comes from the Gospel according to John, chapter 12, beginning in verse 20, and that will be on page 106 in the Newer Testament if you'd like to follow along in the Pew Bible. John 12, 20 through 33. Now among those who went up to worship at the festival were some Greeks. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and said to him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew. Then Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. And Jesus answered them, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Those who love their life lose it, and those who hate their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me. And where I am, there will my servant be also. Whoever serves me, the Father will honor. Now my soul is troubled. Then what should I say? Father, save me from this hour? No. It is for this reason that I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then a voice came from heaven. I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again. The crowd standing there heard it and said that it was thunder. And others said, an angel has spoken to him. And Jesus answered, this voice has come for your sake, not for mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be driven out. And I, when I am lifted up from earth, will draw all people to myself. He said this to indicate the kind of death he was to die. This is the good news of our Lord Jesus, Messiah. Let the church hear what the Spirit is saying. Let us pray. Gracious God, speak to us in these moments. Open our hearts to hear your voice. Open our minds to receive your instruction. Open our lives to be the people of your vision. Come, we pray. Now may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. We're coming to the end of Lent. It's hard to believe. It just seems as if it were yesterday that we began this journey. It seems like yesterday that we were celebrating Jesus' birth. Time flies, doesn't it? And our understanding of time is a funny thing. Einstein would tell us it's relative. And everything depends on our frame of reference. It's interesting to me that in this passage from John's Gospel, that the organizing idea has to do with time. I think it is. I think it's the organizing idea. Up to this point in Jesus' life and ministry, as John the Evangelist tells it to us, Jesus has said repeatedly, this is not the time. The hour has not yet come. And he tells people who see him and who hear him and who experience him to be quiet about it. Because the time is not yet right. It isn't time. But then we come to this passage. When Jesus is approached by Andrew and Philip, who are coming to him on behalf of some Greeks, probably proselytes, converts, or people on the fringes of Judaism. But Greeks who want to see Jesus. And it's interesting to me, on the one hand, that Jesus' answer to them is no answer at all. His speaking to them has nothing to do with, apparently, with wanting to see him. But he begins here by saying that the hour has come. Finally, the time is right. And then from this point on, which is nearly half of John's Gospel, from this point on, Jesus is dealing with the last days of his life. He spends time with his disciples beginning in chapter 13 in the upper room. And he has prayer in Gethsemane, and he is arrested and tried and hanged on a cross and buried and raised from the dead. And John will not allow us to think of these things as discrete events. They are all part of one thing, if you will. They're one idea. You cannot, in John's Gospel, you cannot speak about the death without speaking of the resurrection. Of course, John is writing this many years, decades after Jesus has died and been raised. But he will not let us think of these things as separate events. They are one thing. And the hour has come. The hour has come for a number of things, you see. The hour has come, first and foremost, perhaps, for God to be glorified. And God is going to be glorified through these events in Jesus' life. Or maybe I should say, in keeping with John, through this event in Jesus' life. And Jesus begins here, then, by saying, if a grain of wheat does not die, it remains a single grain. But if it dies, then it becomes a whole harvest. Now, it's interesting, isn't it, that a grain of wheat doesn't really die. It's more as if the grain of wheat were a caterpillar. And it becomes transformed into a great harvest. A single grain becomes many. But I think the point here is that this grain is buried in the earth. And it's that burial that is part and parcel of it becoming a harvest of grain. And of course that points then to Jesus' own burial and his resurrection, that he becomes the first fruits of a great harvest. But the hour has come for that to happen. And anyone who would follow Jesus, this is a difficult saying, anyone who would follow Jesus, if that person loves this life, then it's gone, it's lost. But if the person hates the life in this world, then that person receives eternal life. And now, you have to understand, Jesus is not condemning the world. Jesus is not condemning our lives. He's saying that this life is like that grain of wheat. It needs to be transformed, and it's transformed by his life, by his death and his resurrection. And when it is transformed, we don't despise this life, but we want so much the life that is coming to us through him. So that if we try to hold on to this life, if we become greedy, if we become focused on ourselves, if we become focused inwardly, then we miss this great opportunity. We miss becoming a grain of wheat that transforms into a great harvest. The hour has come. And all who follow Jesus And the implication is all who follow Jesus through death and resurrection then receive honor and glory from God. Now, we don't do it because of the glory and honor. We don't do it for the reward. We do it because we love the life that God gives us, that transforms us even in this life. So that the things of this world that so easily become the focus of our lives have less meaning. And the things of the vision of God, justice, peace, love, fellowship, acceptance, welcome, all of these things become the things that are important to us. The things that actually put us at odds with the world as we know it. The hour has come. It's unfortunate that the text then says, my soul is troubled. Because I think that it masks what Jesus is really saying. The word here is, that what he's really saying is, I am afraid. And well, he should be afraid. He is going up against the powers. He is going up against empire. He is going up against establishment. And he knows what the outcome is going to be. If he continues down this path, if he continues walking the way that he's walking, there is an end that comes, and it is almost inevitable, because empire and establishment does not suffer opposition easily. And Jesus opposes. Jesus stands over against the empire. He stands over against the religious establishments of his day. Well, he should be afraid. And he says, I am afraid. So what's he going to do? Ask God to let the hour pass? No, the hour has come. It is for this, he says, that I came. It is for this hour, this moment, this second, this event that is coming. It's for this that I came, he says. And then a voice. It's amazing in Scripture how often, if there is a voice from heaven, if God speaks, how people misunderstand. Jesus says, Father, glorify your name. And God says, or a voice from heaven says, I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again. And people say, there must be a storm coming out of your thunder. And others say, he's heard something. But Jesus tells them that this voice, this saying, this word from God is not for him. He's afraid, but he is not the one who needs comfort. He is afraid, but he is not the one who needs reassurance from God. It's all these people around who can't hear the voice properly. He says it's for you that this voice has come. It's for you. You're the ones who need to hear what God is saying. You're the ones who need to know this. What Jesus knows and what Jesus tells these people around him is that by this hour, the coming of this hour, the power of the world is taken away. The ruler of this age is taken away. All those impediments, all of those obstacles, all of those barriers that we erect around ourselves to keep God in control. And let's not be mistaken, we do that too. We like a God that we can control because it's comfortable. It's safe. But all of those barriers are gone. And God is coming to us in this hour, and God is drawing us to God's self in this hour because the hour has come. The time has come. And Jesus saying, "Save me from this hour," does not stop it, does not change it, does not challenge it in any way. This hour has come. And we can never look at the world in the same way again. The people of God have a different vision. We've spoken this many times before. When the Bible talks about a kingdom, I prefer to think of vision. Because it isn't a place, it isn't a physical thing necessarily. It is a way of viewing the world. God's way of viewing the world, as best we can understand it. The vision has come, the hour has come, and Jesus, by his death and resurrection, as he is lifted up in two senses, if you will, draws all people to God. Not some, not a few, but all people. And judgment has come, not because Jesus came to condemn the world, as John says earlier. John chapter 3, "I did not come to condemn the world." Judgment has come because there is a decision that has to be made. It's interesting to me, in my study for our upcoming BEST seminar on the importance of ecosystems. It's interesting to me that I've been reminded that the Greek word krisis, which means judgment, is the root of the English word crisis. Crisis, a point of decision, a point where something has to be done. And Jesus is that point. You see? Jesus is that point of decision. And his coming into the world confronts all of us with a choice. Do we accept the vision? Do we participate in God's saving action? Do we participate in God's love and grace and mercy in the world, or do we not? And God will never force us one way or the other. We are free to choose. But choose we must, for the hour has come. We choose every day. We choose to be followers of the vision. We choose to be participants in the life that God is bringing into the world. We choose to participate in the death and the resurrection of Jesus. We choose to be messengers. We choose to be ministers. We choose to be missionaries in the world. And we cannot, we may not abdicate the responsibilities, and we may not neglect the privileges that come because of our choices. If we are followers of Jesus Messiah, then we need to know and we need to say that the hour has come. We say it in the way we live. We say it in the choices that we make. We say it in the products that we buy and the way that we use the resources that God has provided us. And God is the provider. The hour has come. Brothers, sisters, friends, the hour has come. How do you choose today? Let's pray. for the choices you give us, Lord. We thank you that by your Holy Spirit, by your presence, by your love, by your grace, you urge us to choose your vision. But you make the choice our own. Help us every day, every moment, every hour to choose wisely. Help us always to remember that the hour has come for you to be glorified. Share with us your glory, Lord, and help us to follow your vision. For we pray in Jesus' name.